Welcome to the Sportscaster Dan podcast. Here is your host, Dan Lavallo.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. And this is my Picks for Kicks segment of the Sportscaster Dan podcast. And this happens to be week number 18, the final week of the regular season for the NFL. And if you've been following me from the beginning, you know that I make picks involving the three NFL teams in my area, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Giants. And then I throw in some bonus games. That said, through 17 weeks on the season, I have a record of 37-22. I was 4-1 last week, had a great week. I had the Browns over the Jets, a no-brainer there, as the Browns had a convincing win over the Jets. I had the Rams over the Giants. That was close. The Giants made it very interesting. In fact, some would say they should have won that game. Tyrod Taylor did a fine job at quarterback. I know he made some mistakes, but overall he did a fine job. So I had the Rams winning that game. They're going to the playoffs. I had the Bills over the Patriots. Patriots defense did a pretty respectable job, but there was no way the Bills were going to lose that game in Buffalo. I had the Chiefs over the Bengals, and that was an interesting contest for a while, and Kansas City won. And then the one game I picked wrong was I had the Seahawks beating the Steelers, and it didn't happen. The Steelers won on the road in Seattle, and so that sets up a very interesting week as we go into week number 18 on the season. But again, my record right now through 17 weeks, 37-22. So let's get to the final games of the regular season. And again, I don't pick with the spread or against the spread or over and under. I don't do any of that. All I do is give you my outright winners. And so we have been doing that through 17 weeks. We'll do it for week number 18 as well on our Picks for Kicks. So weather's going to be a factor, and actually weather has influenced a couple of my picks because it's going to be snowing in the Northeast, and it's going to be snowing during these games, the Jets-Patriots game in Foxborough and the Giants game against the Eagles in New Jersey. And that could have an impact. It's going to be heavy snow. So it'll be fascinating to see who plays for these teams. But let's get to my first game, and it involves what could be the last game ever coached by Bill Belichick as a New England Patriot head coach. I mean, the stories are flying, and it's been for weeks now. I've done newsletters about this. I've done podcasts about this. But this is going to be some game in the snow. And you know, Belichick, who was the head coach of the New York Jets for one day, always loves beating the Jets. And you can't knock the Patriots' defense. The Patriots' defense has done a fine job. It's the offense which has been non-existent for the most part. What will happen in Bill's final game? Perhaps. I mean, we don't know. They're supposed to have a big sit-down on Monday. In fact, I did a bid in my last newsletter. No one knows what's going to happen, despite all these stories. And they're going to have a sit-down, the Crafts and Belichick on Monday. But who's going to win the game in the snow in Foxborough? The Patriots will beat the Jets in Foxborough on Sunday. And it could be a very interesting game, what with the weather and all that's going on. Then you go down to New Jersey, the Meadowlands, the Giants going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I will tell you, I have changed my pick. And I have changed my pick because of the weather. The weather is going to have a big impact, I believe, on this game. And so that said, the Giants, here's my upset special, are going to beat the Eagles, and they haven't beaten the Eagles in forever. But I am predicting that the Giants will beat the Eagles in this game. And the Eagles are in the playoffs. They might not win the division. It looks as if the Cowboys might win the division, and they finish up against Washington. That's a given win for the Cowboys, I would think. Although there's nothing for certain in the NFL, right? But that said, I think that the Eagles might decide not to play some of their regulars, anticipating that they're going to have to play next week in week one of the postseason anyway. So why risk getting somebody hurt, particularly since this team has had its share of injuries this year? Meanwhile, the Giants are going to go all out for the victory. None of this stuff about positioning for draft choices, not at this stage. So I am predicting that the Giants will beat the Eagles. Now, bonus games, and there are several. In fact, I've given you three. Let's start with the game on Saturday night between the Texans, the Houston Texans, and the Indy Colts. They're going to play that game in Indianapolis. Texans can make the playoffs. A win, they're in. Colts win, well, then they've got their playoff hopes alive. The Texans are going to beat the Colts. That's my prediction. Houston Texans over the Colts. A couple of fascinating games on Sunday, and let's begin with the afternoon game. This is the 4:25 game in Green Bay. The Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears. These are longtime rivals. Packers have been up and down. I mean, it looked as if they were a cinch to make the playoffs, and then they lose to the Giants in the Meadowlands, but they've bounced back since then. You've got to give the Packers credit. Their playoff hopes are still alive, and even though the Bears are playing better football, and they really, what are they, 7-9? The Bears are playing better football. This should be some game. I just don't see Chicago going into Green Bay and historic Lambeau Field in a game with playoff implications beating the Packers. These are two young teams. These are two young teams that are definitely going to be heard from. I think the way the Bears have played, they saved their head coach's job. He's only in his second year anyway, but still I think they've saved his job. But that said, the Packers are going to beat the Bears in Lambeau Field. And then the game on Sunday night in Miami with the division title on the line, the AFC East, the Dolphins, who got decimated, I mean blown out by the Baltimore Ravens last week, are playing the Buffalo Bills, who managed to win these games. They hold on by a thread, but they managed to win. But now you're asking Buffalo to go into Miami and beat the Dolphins, who are certainly bristling after that embarrassing loss to the Ravens. You're asking the Bills to go down to Miami and win. I don't see it happening. I am predicting that the Dolphins will beat the Buffalo Bills on Sunday in what will be the last game of the regular season, because there is no Monday night game. They have the national championship game in college football. That's going to be a fun game. Washington against Michigan. The Big Ten against what's left of the Pac-12, right? So here we go. Once again, my recap. In conclusion, it will be the Patriots over the Jets in what could be the last game for Bill Belichick as Patriots head coach. The Patriots over the Jets. The Giants will upset the Eagles. And remember, both those games will be impacted by the snow. That's going to be fun to watch. Then my bonus pick Saturday night, the Texans will beat the Colts. I'm also looking for the Packers to upend the Bears at Lambeau Field. And then the Sunday night game, the Dolphins will win, defeating the Buffalo Bills. So it really should be a lot of fun. And I hope you enjoy the games. And please subscribe to my newsletter. I'm going to be doing picks during the postseason as well. I mean, the postseason is part of the NFL season, right? Some will say it's the big part of the NFL season. But again, 37 and 22 through 17 weeks. There are my picks for week number 18. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the games being played in the snow. And most importantly, don't look at this as a down moment, because it's the last week of the regular season, the last weekend of games. Look forward. Look forward to the playoffs, even if your team isn't in there. There's nothing more exciting than the NFL playoffs, but there's really nothing more exciting than the regular season of the NFL. Let me just wrap up. I don't know if you saw this story. The top 100 rated shows in 2023. Are you ready for this? The top 100 rated shows on television in 2023, 93 of them were the NFL. 93 out of the top 100 rated programs on TV. I'm talking about the regular schedule. 93 of 100 were NFL games, regular season and postseason. I've said it numerous times. You know it. And I like all sports, but the NFL is king. Enjoy the final weekend of the regular season and continue to follow my podcasts and subscribe to my newsletter. You can do so by going to sportscasterdan.com. And thanks for listening and watching.